Chapter 598. Blood spurted out of the Extinction Saber Sovereign's body. Disbelief and shock filled his face. He, the Extinction Saber Monarch, had lived for over 200 years and had seen all sorts of prodigies, but he had never seen a first-level monarch that could instantly kill so many monarchs. Even if a 3-star general progressed to the primary sea realm, they wouldn't be able to achieve this. The larger the range of a sword move, the weaker the lethality. It was impossible for a sword move to be as powerful as Li Fuchen. Invincible blade, 100-splitting slash. As one of the top 10 monarchs under the county protector Lin Tianyang, the Extinction Saber Monarch's strength wasn't something a regular 8th-level monarch could compare with. He might not have cultivated a heaven-class martial art, but after so many years, he had created a quasi-heaven-class saber move. Once the saber move was executed, a bundle of saber light appeared in the air. The saber light exploded and enveloped Li Fuchen like a storm. What a powerful blade technique! Li Fuchen's eyes flashed with astonishment. From the aura intensity, the Extinction Saber Monarch was slightly inferior to the Blue Star Monarch. After all, the Blue Star Monarch was a 7-star special bone frame, but in terms of strength, the Blue Star Monarch would never be able to catch up to the Extinction Saber Monarch. Not daring to be careless, Li Fuchen brandished his sword and used the Heaven and Earth Extermination Sword move to seal his opponent's saber move. Kacha kacha. No matter how the Extinction Saber Monarch attacked, his saber move wasn't able to break Li Fuchen's sword move. Absolute Sky and Earth was the most perfect defensive move. At the same time, it was also the most perfect defensive move. After all, it contained a trace of the Void Law. But it was rather impossible for Li Fuchen to defeat the Extinction Saber Monarch with just sword moves. Having grasped a quasi-heaven-class saber move, the Extinction Saber Monarch was not just a little stronger than the Blue Star Monarch. His previous injuries were due to his carelessness and being caught off guard. However, Li Fuchen didn't just have the Heaven and Earth Extermination, he also had the Spiritual Awareness attack. A spiritual sense attack shot out, and the Extinction Saber Sovereign's body instantly stiffened. Although it was only for an instant, it was enough. Sparks flew from the armor on his body, and the Extinction Saber Monarch spat out a mouthful of blood. The Absolute Saber Sovereign's sword chi seemed to have been blocked by the armor. However, a small portion of the sword chi still managed to seep in under the influence of the laws of the void, destroying the Absolute Saber Sovereign's life force. It should be a quasi-heaven tier armor. If it wasn't for the quasi-heaven grade armor, it wouldn't be able to defend against most of the sword chi. Ordinary Earth grade high-tier Earth grade armor would definitely be destroyed or destroyed in front of the heaven-destroying sword chi. Previously, Li Fuchen had already verified it multiple times. You can't kill me. I'm the county governor's man. If you kill me, no one in the world can save you. The Extinction Saber Sovereign did not want to die. He was even afraid of death. After over 200 years of cultivation, he finally reached the 8th level of Primary Sea Realm and was just a step away from the 9th level of Primary Sea Realm. He might be very far away from the Law Phase Realm, but as long as there was a fated opportunity, he might be able to progress. By then, the Emperor Sky Continent would be his to roam. He could even leave the Emperor Sky Continent and head to other continents to search for fated opportunities. He yearned for the kind of high and mighty life where he could do whatever he wanted. The prerequisite was that he had to continue living. Only by staying alive would there be a chance. Otherwise, everything would be empty. Hence, the Extinction Saber Sovereign was very afraid of death, extremely afraid. You want to live? Li Fuchen said indifferently. Of course, as long as you don't kill me, I can persuade the prefectural governor to give up on your arrest warrant. The Extinction Saber Sovereign said in a trembling voice as if he saw a glimmer of hope. How was it possible to persuade the county governor to give up on the wanted order? Not only did he not dare to persuade the county governor, he was also unable to do so. Even if he could persuade the county governor, he would not do so. As long as he could escape with his life today, there would be a day where he would take revenge for today's humiliation. Revealing a mocking smile, Li Fuchen executed the 1,000 illusion eyes and enveloped the Extinction Saber Sovereign with an illusion chi presence. With a swing of the joint heaven sword, a massive head flew high into the sky. Even in death, the Extinction Saber Sovereign didn't dare to believe that he was dead. Even in death, he didn't understand why Li Fuchen gave him hope and then sent him to hell. I am so hateful. I curse you to never reach the pinnacle and to be pursued by others forever, dying without a burial ground. Gritting his teeth, the Extinction Saber Sovereign roared hysterically. After a single breath, the Extinction Saber Sovereign's voice abruptly stopped. Your willpower isn't firm enough. I wonder how you cultivated to the 8th level of Primary Sea Realm. Li Fuchen shook his head and reached out to suck the Extinction Saber Sovereign's storage bag over. Li Fuchen gave the Extinction Saber Sovereign hope so that the Extinction Saber Sovereign would relax, allowing his 1,000 illusion eyes to be effective. But the Extinction Saber Sovereign seemed to be too afraid of death and had sunk deep into the illusion, allowing the sword chi to sever the Extinction Saber Sovereign's head with ease. 2 days later, Li Fuchen left the Red Moon Empire's territory and arrived at the Soul Sky Empire. At this moment, the news of the monarchs failing to pursue Li Fuchen had spread out. For a moment, there was a huge commotion. After a rough count, the number of monarchs that died in the hands of Li Fuchen was close to 100. Even first-rate monarch-class clans would only have 100 to 200 monarchs. Li Fuchen was equivalent to eliminating half a first-rate monarch-class clan or 2 or 3 second-rate monarch-class clans. Such combat strength had caused many of the monarchs that didn't encounter Li Fuchen to tremble with fear. At the same time, they were silently rejoicing that they didn't encounter Li Fuchen, otherwise, they would have already died under Li Fuchen's sword. South Sun City's County Protector residence. The County Protector Lin Tianyang had a gloomy expression. A mere Li Fuchen was actually able to create such a huge commotion, and it was something he didn't expect. However, he didn't believe that Li Fuchen had the strength to eliminate high-level monarchs. There must be someone helping him. The Extinction Saber Sovereign's strength wasn't ordinary, and even Lin Tianyang wouldn't have an easy time to eliminate the Extinction Saber Sovereign. Furthermore, the Extinction Saber Sovereign had plenty of monarchs with him. When thinking about the Extinction Saber Sovereign's death, Lin Tianyang felt a heartache. It was too difficult to nurture a high-level monarch. In the entire South Sun County, there were more than 2,000 monarchs, but there were less than 50 high-level monarchs. With each death, there would be one less monarch. As the county protector, there were plenty of things that required people to do for him. The gap left behind by a high-level monarch wasn't something that could be filled by regular people. Of course, Lin Tianyang was actually more concerned about his reputation. Li Fuchen was slapping his face ruthlessly and he couldn't take it lying down. Damn Li Fuchen, unless you never return to the Red Moon Empire. If Li Fuchen appeared in the Clear Peace County, he must be heading to the Soul Sky Empire. Lin Tianyang wasn't a fool. County Protector, actually, even if he is heading to the Soul Sky Empire, we can still capture him. The County Protector Residence's housekeeper said carefully. Lin Tianyang glared at the housekeeper and asked, "What methods do you have?" His son, Lin Shou, was missing, his right-hand man was killed, and with the issue of his reputation, Lin Tianyang was very eager to capture Li Fuchen. The housekeeper said, "County Protector, we can invite the Clan of Darkness to help us capture Li Fuchen." Clan of Darkness. Lin Tianyang's eyes lit up. The Clan of Darkness was the most mysterious and terrifying dark faction in the Emperor Sky Continent. It was rumored that the leader of the Clan of Darkness wasn't inferior to the Red Moon Emperor and other great emperors. He was the ruler of the darkness. But it is rather expensive to invite the experts of the Clan of Darkness. The housekeeper said with concern. "It doesn't matter. I am willing to pay even if it costs 10 or 20 million mid-grade spirit stones." As the county protector, his mid-grade spirit stones were counted in the hundreds of millions. Otherwise, he wouldn't have issued a bounty for Li Fuchen. In an inn in a small town in the Soul Sky Empire, Li Fuchen was taking inventory of his spoils of war. No wonder they are primary sea realm monarchs. 85 monarchs have brought me a total of 15 million mid-grade spirit stones. If I include the valuable items, I will have a total of at least 30 million mid-grade spirit stones. Primary sea realm monarchs were too wealthy. Even low-level monarchs with lesser wealth would have at least a few tens of thousands of mid-grade spirit stones. Mid-level monarchs would have 100,000 to a few hundred thousand mid-grade spirit stones. Especially the Blue Star Monarch and the Extinction Saber Monarch, they actually had more than 1 million mid-grade spirit stones. The Blue Star Monarch had 1.2 million mid-grade spirit stones, while the Extinction Saber Monarch had 1.5 million mid-grade spirit stones. Li Fuchen was speechless when recalling how he had worked so hard to exchange for mid-grade spirit stones with heaven stones and was still scammed. I have finally arrived at the Soul Sky Empire. I wonder how Senior Lei and the others are doing? Chapter 599. After his Qi cultivation reached the primary Sea realm, Li Fuchen had yet to sense his own body's condition. Firstly, it was his spiritual awareness. Previously, Li Fuchen's spiritual awareness could only extend out over 10,000 miles, but now, it could extend out to 50,000 miles. It was almost 3 times. Regular monarch's spiritual awareness could only extend out to less than 1,000 miles in the Emperor Sky continent. Elite monarch's spiritual awareness could extend out to a few thousand miles. There were a few elite monarchs with stronger true spirits that could extend out to 10,000 miles. There were also some elite monarchs with superior spirit soul aptitude that could extend out to 20,000 or 30,000 miles. Spiritual awareness was something that had a greater disparity when the cultivation realm was higher. There was a huge disparity between 6-star bone frames and 7-star bone frames, 7-star extraordinary bone frames and 7-star special bone frames. There was also a huge disparity between 7-star special bone frames and 8-star bone frames. Take Lei Donghai and the others for example. Their spiritual awareness could extend out to over 2,000 miles and were much stronger than regular monarchs. In fact, at the battle spirit realm, the disparity wasn't that great. But at the primary Sea realm, the difference in spiritual awareness base would cause the disparity to widen until it couldn't be bridged. If Li Fuchen didn't devour a monarch's true spirit essence and a demonic beast ruler's demonic beast spirit essence, his current spiritual awareness range would definitely be at the pinnacle. It was at least 10,000 miles. My spiritual awareness can extend out to 50,000 miles. Even among the Law Phase realm emperors, I shouldn't be considered weak, right? After letting out a breath, Li Fuchen withdrew his spiritual awareness. Apart from his spiritual awareness, Li Fuchen's perception had also increased significantly. His perception was already insane, but now it was definitely on the next level and had reached a whole new level. This could be clearly felt from comprehending the power of laws within the mid-grade Heaven Stone. It isn't bad to progress to the primary Sea realm in advance. At least, I can create the 36th rank of the Divine Flame Red Rainbow technique. Li Fuchen said to himself. After making a short stop in the town, Li Fuchen set off before the next day and headed for the Dragon River Seat's Gaze native city. Apart from the difference in geographical location, the Soul Sky Empire and the Red Moon Empire were similar in other aspects. However, Li Fuchen noticed that the Soul Sky Empire had a popular type of soul elixir. This soul elixir was divided into 4 grades: low grade, mid grade, high grade, and special grade. The effect of the soul elixir was very simple. It was to stimulate the soul and temporarily increase one's perception. Li Fuchen consumed a low-grade soul elixir and realized that it was indeed effective on the spirit soul. As for whether it could increase his perception, Li Fuchen couldn't feel it. It might be because his perception was too high and the low-grade soul elixir was ineffective. While Li Fuchen was making haste, the South Sun County's county protector, Lin Tianyong, contacted the members of the Clan of Darkness. In the main hall of the county governor manor, a black-robed man stood in the middle of the hall, and the prefectural governor Lin Tianyong was seated at the head of the table. 30 million mid-grade spirit stones, no bargaining. The black-robed man's voice was very ethereal. 30 million medium spiritual stones? How was this possible? Even capturing a quasi-emperor wouldn't require so many medial-grade spirit stones. Lin Tianyong's expression changed, and he could not help but shout. He could accept 10 or 20 million, but 30 million was unacceptable to him. Most importantly, he felt that it wasn't worth it. According to the information from the Clan of Darkness, he is worth this price. I believe you have also noticed that when he first appeared in South Sun City, he was only at the 5th level of Battle Spirit Realm. Right now, he is already at the 1st level of Primary Sea Realm. There are too many uncertainties in such an elite prodigy. Of course, if it is an assassination, it wouldn't require so many mid-grade spirit stones. It would only require 15 million mid-grade spirit stones. Assassination was much easier than capturing him. Lin Tianyang frowned in response. Indeed, Li Fuchen's cultivation progress was too fast, and it seemed like he didn't need to accumulate any time. If Li Fuchen wasn't mistaken, Li Fuchen should have obtained some artifact, allowing him to increase his cultivation rapidly. Of course, Li Fuchen was definitely an elite prodigy and wasn't inferior to any 3-star general. But 30 million mid-grade spirit stones was too high. As for killing Li Fuchen, Lin Tianyang didn't even consider it. Spending 15 million mid-grade spirit stones to kill a person wasn't worth it. After all, his spirit stones didn't grow on trees. Alright, 30 million it is. But you have to guarantee that you will capture him and bring him back. After pondering for a moment, Lin Tianyang made up his mind. The black-robed man shook his head. No one can guarantee such things. I can only say that the Clan of Darkness has the highest success rate. Furthermore, your 30 million mid-grade spirit stones won't be spent in vain. According to the Clan of Darkness rules, if you spend 30 million mid-grade spirit stones, you will be able to become a 3-star VIP of the Clan of Darkness. You can take a look at the various treatments for different VIP. The black-robed man tossed a small booklet to Lin Tianyang. Lin Tianyang opened it and took a glance while his expression was uncertain. The VIP treatment of the Clan of Darkness was indeed very attractive. Apart from discounts, there were other services like intelligence services and anti-assassination services. I hope that the Clan of Darkness is worthy of the price of 30 million mid-grade spirit stones. Lin Tianyang let out a turbid breath and said slowly, 30 million mid-grade spirit stones might be painful, but with his methods, it wasn't a difficult task to earn it back. Otherwise, wouldn't he be a county protector for nothing? Body refinement had a body's endurance limit. Qi cultivation also had a Dantian's capacity and Meridian's endurance limit. Due to the rapid increase in Qi cultivation, the Dantian wasn't nourished enough. With the Divine Flame Red Rainbow technique reaching the 35th rank, Li Fuchen's Qi was much more than primary Sea Realm monarchs of the same realm. It caused Li Fuchen's Dantian to be already saturated and was even overloaded. It was temporarily impossible for him to continue increasing his cultivation. Along the way, Li Fuchen constantly purified his qi to reduce the pressure on his Dantian. At the same time, Li Fuchen also started to create Earth-class peak-tier body refinement arts. For qi cultivation arts, Li Fuchen had already created plenty of Heaven-class sword moves and even cultivated the Heaven-class low-tier sword art, Absolute Heaven sword art. He was almost at the limit. After all, if he advanced another step, it would be a Heaven-class mid-tier martial art. Heaven-class martial arts, each tier was like heaven and earth. Heaven-class mid-tier martial arts were something that even Law Phase Realm Emperors desired. Regular Law Phase Realm Emperors would normally cultivate Heaven-class low-tier cultivation techniques and martial arts. Only P-class Law Phase Realm Emperors would have Heaven-class mid-tier martial arts or even Heaven-class mid-tier cultivation techniques. As for whether they were created by themselves or passed down by their predecessors, it was up to each individual. It was said that great emperors like the Red Moon Emperor had comprehended Heaven-class high-tier martial arts. A simple move of his would have the power to destroy the world. With Li Fuchen's cultivation and perception, creating Earth-class peak-tier body refinement arts wasn't as difficult as imagined. In less than half a month, Li Fuchen created 2 Earth-class peak-tier body refinement moves. They were the Dragon God Claw, which used the 9 Dragon's Claw as the foundation. The Wind Thunder Shock, which used the Wind Cloud Tyrant body as the foundation. The Dragon God Claw was able to condense a Golden Dragon Claw spirit to forcefully tear apart the enemy's defense and body. This move only had one kind of power law, and that was the Ripping Law. The Wind Thunder Shock was the strengthened version of the Wind Cloud Tyrant body's Wind Thunder Shock. It contained extreme vibration law, and due to the powerful vibration law, it could even trigger thunderbolts in the void to deal multiple damage to the enemy. Chapter 600. A few days later, Li Fuchen arrived at a city. This city was called the Cold Thunder City. Just like the Red Moon Empire's cities, the Cold Thunder City also had a stone gambling den. Li Fuchen subconsciously entered the stone gambling den and wanted to try his luck to see if he could find a high-grade heaven stone. Mid-grade heaven stones were already very helpful to him. High-grade heaven stones would definitely allow his law comprehension to reach an unprecedented height. Before progressing to the 10th floor, Li Fuchen would only be able to reach the 9th floor of the stone gambling den. Right now, Li Fuchen was already a primary sea realm monarch and could reach the 10th floor without any obstructions. So many monarchs. Li Fuchen took a glance and noticed that there were over 30 monarchs on the 10th floor. There was even a high-level monarch. Li Fuchen's arrival had attracted the attention of over 30 monarchs. When they saw that Li Fuchen was a young man, they were all surprised. They were certain that Li Fuchen wasn't old. From his chi presence, he wasn't more than 50 years old or even younger. Monarchs below the age of 50 were considered elite prodigies in any place. I didn't expect for a prodigy monarch to appear in the Cold Thunder City. I wonder which faction is he from? Everyone took a glance before withdrawing their eyes. Prodigy monarchs might be rare, but it was only rare in the Cold Thunder City. In the entire Soul Sky Empire, there were plenty of prodigy monarchs. Some of the most elite prodigy monarchs had progressed to the primary sea realm at the age of 30. Such intense chi blood wave. A monarch with short brows might have withdrawn his eyes, but he was still observing Li Fuchen in the dark. Silently, he took out a long crystal with a scale from his storage bag. Inside the long crystal, the red color was constantly extending. Chi blood wave of 239. If I capture him and offer him to the Blood Emperor, I will surely receive a great reward. The Blood Emperor's requirement was a body refinement martial artist with a chi blood wave of 100 and above. It was obvious that this prodigy monarch had exceeded the requirements by quite a bit. Li Fuchen realized that the 10th floor had more heaven stones, but there weren't many mid-grade heaven stones. After looking through all the heaven stone ores, there were only 4 mid-grade heaven stones. After spending 40,000 mid-grade spirit stones, Li Fuchen purchased 24 pieces of heaven stone ores. Among them, there were 4 mid-grade heaven stones and 20 low-grade heaven stones. Furthermore, these low-grade heaven stones were at least the size of a skull. Li Fuchen couldn't be bothered to purchase those that were too small. Leaving the stone gambling den, Li Fuchen continued his journey. With my 6th level primary sea realm cultivation and the blood sift net bestowed by the Blood Emperor, capturing him shouldn't be a problem. The short-browed king quickly chased after him. In the wilderness thousands of miles away from Cold Thunder City. Who is it? Li Fuchen turned around. Little friend, I am the Blood Beam King. I wish to be friends with you. The Blood Beam Monarch was holding onto a blood-colored metal sphere as he approached Li Fuchen silently. Make friends? Li Fuchen sized up his opponent. That's right. I, the Blood Beam Monarch, admire a genius king like you very much. The Blood Beam Monarch had a smile on his face like the spring breeze, but he was rather nervous in his heart. These prodigy monarchs were all formidable and couldn't be viewed with common sense. He might not be afraid of Li Fuchen, but in order to capture Li Fuchen alive, he had to be within 100 meters of Li Fuchen. Otherwise, his blood sift net wouldn't be able to trap Li Fuchen. When you're outside, you should make more friends. Li Fuchen nodded and looked as though he was enjoying it. The Blood Beam Monarch sneered in his heart. These prodigy monarchs were all used to being arrogant and loved to be flattered, even if they pretended to be amiable and approachable. 200 meters. 150 meters. 100 meters. This was the moment. The Blood Beam Monarch's eyes burst out with radiance and was about to cast the blood sift net. I already know that you don't have good intentions. Li Fuchen's spiritual awareness attack struck on the Blood Beam Monarch and instantly interrupted the Blood Beam Monarch's movement. Immediately after, Li Fuchen's right hand opened up into a claw and clawed. Dragon God Claw. The golden dragon claw spirit was like a giant dragon's claw and clawed on the Blood Bee monarch's body ruthlessly. PFFFTSS. The chi protection was torn apart and the Blood Bee monarch's artifact armor had a few deep marks while his entire body was smashed into the ground. Li Fuchen clawed on the ground a few times and turned the Blood Bee monarch into a bloody mess. Little friend is too much of a bully. Why did you suddenly attack me? The Blood Bee monarch was appalled and used his final strength to yell out. You are still so stubborn when you are about to die. Li Fuchen's golden giant dragon spirit rose and clawed again. Boom. The ground was clawed and there were a few ravines. The Blood Bee monarch who was in the ravine had already been smashed into a pile of blood and was dead. Li Fuchen reached out and sucked the Blood Bee monarch's blood sift net and storage bag over. As for the Blood Bee monarch's artifact armor, it was at least a 2-star Earth-class peak-tier artifact armor, but it had already been crippled by Li Fuchen. Repairing it would require plenty of mid-grade spirit stones and Li Fuchen couldn't be bothered to keep it. When the blood sift net was in his hand, Li Fuchen's expression changed. This blood sift net had an absolute suppression effect on chi blood. Just by holding it in his hand, Li Fuchen could feel that the chi blood in his palm was rather sluggish. Once he used it, he would probably be able to capture a body refinement monarch with ease. It should be a body refinement cardinal artifact. Li Fuchen could imagine the consequences if he was caught by the net. He might be on the path of dual cultivation and wouldn't lose his combat strength if his chi blood was suppressed. However, chi blood was actually the foundation of a human and it was the body itself. When chi blood was suppressed, the chi strength would be greatly reduced and it was hard to say how much chi blood would be left. After opening up the Blood Bee monarch's storage bag, Li Fuchen found over 300,000 mid-grade spirit stones inside. Apart from that, there was also a blood-colored token. The front of the blood-colored token had the word, blood, and the back was a picture of a skull. When Li Fuchen extended his spiritual awareness into it, he found a communication array inside. It was a communication token. There were low-grade communication tokens and high-grade communication tokens. The East Unicorn continent had low-grade communication tokens too, but the communication distance was very short. Furthermore, most of them could only be sent by crushing the communication token. Li Fuchen reckoned that the blood-colored token in his hand should be a mid-grade or high-grade communication token. Because the communication array inside was very complicated, it was at least a Class 6 communication array. After thinking about it, Li Fuchen didn't throw away the blood-colored token. He felt that the Blood Bee monarch wasn't targeting him just to rob him. After all, the Blood Bee monarch didn't know how much wealth he had. After keeping the blood-colored token, Li Fuchen continued on his journey. It didn't matter what scheme the Blood Bee monarch had. If he died, everything would vanish like smoke. Over a month later, Li Fuchen arrived at the Dragon River Seat's Gaze native city. Senior Gu, I have arrived at the Gaze native city. I will wait for you at the Pine Tree Inn. Li Fuchen also had a communication token, so did Lei Donghai and the others. However, the 4 of them had low-grade communication tokens and wouldn't be able to send a message far. After all, the communication token was a strategic item and only low-grade communication tokens were circulated in the outside world. But as compared to the East Unicorn continent's communication tokens, the Emperor Sky continent's communication tokens had the ability to send messages and weren't one-time consumables. Half a day later, the black-robed Gujiri arrived at the Pine Tree Inn. Inside a private room, Senior Gu, where is Senior Lei and the others? Li Fuchen's heart thumped when he didn't see Lei Donghai and Yuan Long. Gujiri said bitterly, Senior Yuan Long was captured. Senior Lei and I split up and escaped. I am the only one who successfully arrived at the Gaze native city. Gujiri told Li Fuchen about the situation along the way. After listening, Li Fuchen went silent. Yuan Long wasn't captured in the Red Moon Empire, he was captured in the Soul Sky Empire. The other party was a 5th-level primary Sea Realm monarch and he immediately produced a blood net to capture Yuan Long. Li Fuchen took out the blood sift net from his storage bag and said to Gujiri, Senior Gu, did the other party use this kind of net? That's right. When Gujiri saw the blood sift net, she immediately recognized it and asked curiously, Junior Li, why do you have it too? Li Fuchen told Guzhi everything that happened along the way. Chapter 601. Li Fuchen didn't know what these people's objective was. He only knew that he had to find Lei Donghai and rescue Yuan Long. This was his responsibility. However, finding Lei Donghai was relatively easy, but rescuing Yuan Long was not so easy. He needed to think about it at length. After all, he didn't even know who the other party was, what faction they belonged to, or where they were. After spending some mid-grade spirit stones, Li Fuchen purchased a courtyard in the Gei's native city. Guzhi's strength was too weak and Li Fuchen planned for her to stay here and wait for Lei Donghai. Lei Donghai would be the one to gather information and find clues. After asking around, Li Fuchen found out that 2 body refinement monarchs had gone missing in the Gei's native city for the past 10 years. There were even more body refinement monarchs that had gone missing in the entire Dragon River seat. There were a total of 12 missing. One had to know that the ratio of body refinement martial artists to true Qi martial artists was low to begin with. There might not even be 1 body refinement martial artist out of 100 kings. 12 body refinement martial artists had gone missing in 10 years. It would be hard not to attract attention. There must be a dark organization behind this that is capturing body refinement kings. Li Fuchen frowned. Body refinement martial artists had always had the title of human-shaped great medicine, and in terms of body essence alone, body refinement kings were not inferior to mid-tier heaven-class herbs, just that they contained slightly less rule power. Since ancient times, the reason why there were so few body refinement martial artists was because of resources, and this was the second reason. After all, once one cultivated to a certain realm, they would be targeted by others. Who would dare to walk the path of body refinement? If no one walked the path of body refinement, the number of true experts naturally wouldn't increase. If there weren't many experts, the number of inheritances would naturally be pitifully small. Not to mention anything else, it could be seen from the scarcity of body refining techniques and martial arts. Inside the room in the courtyard, a long crystal appeared in Li Fuchen's hand. The scale displayed on the long crystal was 239. If he had not known why he had been targeted before, now he knew. This group of people had vitality crystals that could determine the strength of vitality fluctuations. No matter how well you hid, you would not be able to hide in front of these vitality crystals. Looks like I have to seal up my chi in blood. Back in the 7 Color Continent's Southern Forest Martial Institution, he had once been locked by the Vice Dean. However, with his current body refinement realm, the Vice Dean's energy lock was ineffective. He had to learn a more profound energy lock. Of course, he could also create it himself. Next, Li Fuchen started to create the Qi power lock. He didn't intend to become someone else's prey. After all, no matter how strong he was, there would come a day when he would fail miserably and capsize in an easy task. Energy lock should be a type of secret technique. Its function was to lock qi, blood, and energy, making it impossible to circulate. Since it could not circulate, it naturally could not leak out. In fact, Li Fuchen could also conceal his qi blood and qi power by relying on his spirit soul talent. But the spirit soul talent could only be used occasionally. It was impossible to conceal his qi blood and qi power for a long period of time. According to the structure of the Vice Dean's qi power lock, Li Fuchen innovated. After half a month, Li Fuchen finally created a 6-star qi power lock. However, the 6-star qi power lock was still unable to seal his primary C realm qi blood and qi. He had to use the 7-star qi power lock. My vitality has dropped to 168. Taking out the qi blood crystal, Li Fuchen saw that the qi blood scale was now 168. Thinking about it, Li Fuchen continued to immerse himself in perfecting the qi power lock. No matter what, he had to get his qi wave below 100. He had a hunch that the key to the problem was whether it was above or below 100. Beginner 6-star. Intermediate 6-star. High 6-star. Strictly speaking, secret techniques weren't differentiated by levels, only by stars. But since Li Fuchen created his own secret technique, he had the final say. When the qi power lock was at the 6-star high tier, Li Fuchen's vitality had finally dropped to 98. At this moment, it wasn't so easy to continue improving the Qi power lock. Only Li Fuchen was able to create a 6-star high-tier Qi power lock based on a 5-star Qi power lock in just half a month. If it was a peak-class monarch, it was impossible. Buzz. There was a vibrating sound from the storage bag. Li Fuchen opened the storage bag and noticed that the blood-colored token was vibrating, pouring in Qi. All nearby blood slaves, heed my command. Quickly head to the beheading waterfall town's soul break forest. There is a subcompletion level body refinement monarch here. A deep and hoarse voice echoed. Blood slave? Subcompletion level body refinement monarch? Li Fuchen was startled. The Blood Bee monarch was a 6th level monarch and was actually a blood slave. Furthermore, the person who spoke had a higher status than the blood slave and it was unknown who that person was. As for subcompletion level body refinement monarchs, regular mid-level monarchs wouldn't be able to deal with them. Generally speaking, to be able to increase the body refinement to the subcompletion level of primary C realm, the body refinement technique would definitely be Earth-class high-tier. It also meant that this person's body refinement strength was most likely superior to Li Fuchen's body refinement strength. If the person had also grasped an Earth-class peak-tier body refinement art, killing regular mid-level monarchs would be as easy as slaughtering chickens. He could even kill regular high-level monarchs. Go? Or not go? Li Fuchen raised his brows. Go, I must go. If I don't go, I won't be able to find any clues. Li Fuchen took a deep breath and prepared to head to the beheading waterfall town's soul break forest. The beheading waterfall town was located in the Dragon River Seat's continuous thread city. It was a large town with a population of over 1 million. The Soul Break Forest was a famous dangerous place in the vicinity of the beheading waterfall town. It was rumored that many monarchs went missing in the Soul Break Forest. Late at night, there were shadows in the Soul Break Forest. On a large tree, there were 3 shadows standing there. The leader shadow had a strange Qi presence and had a trace of illusion. There was a subtle sound as another shadow stood on the tree. Where is your token? The leader shadow asked the new shadow. The new shadow took out the token and shook it. There was a flash of blood light. The leader shadow nodded and didn't say anything else. Li Fuchen was silently rejoicing that he had a way to refine the blood-colored token. Otherwise, he would have been exposed. It turned out that the blood-colored token could be used without refining it. However, Li Fuchen noticed a refinement restriction in the deepest part of the blood-colored token. This refinement restriction was extremely brilliant. Li Fuchen reckoned that apart from himself, not even peak-class monarchs would be able to refine it. Previously, Li Fuchen wasn't sure, but now he was extremely certain that this dark faction definitely had the shadow of a Law Phase Realm Emperor. Otherwise, a refinement restriction wouldn't be so brilliant. After all, restrictions and arrays were different. Restrictions had an extremely high requirement for cultivation level. The stronger the cultivation level, the stronger the restriction. Without having to worry about his identity being exposed, Li Fuchen had the chance to observe the trio. Among the trio, the shadow leader had the highest cultivation and was at the 7th level of primary C realm. Furthermore, Li Fuchen could feel traces of dangerous Qi intent from the shadow leader. His strength was probably superior to the Extinction Saber Monarch, and he probably had plenty of methods. As for the other 2 shadows, one was at the 6th level of primary C realm and the other was at the 5th level of primary C realm. Their Qi presence was much stronger than regular mid-level monarchs and wasn't inferior to the Blood Bee monarch. Chapter 602. When it was late at night and no one else came, the shadow leader said, "There is a total of 5 of us. The other blood slave is watching him. Report your recent situation to me." The 6th level shadow shook his head and said, "In recent years, the great medicines are getting more cautious. It isn't easy to find them. 1 year ago, we discovered a great medicine that is suspected to be using the Qi power lock to lower the Qi blood waves. It is a pity that the great medicine escaped." The shadow leader turned to look at the 5th level primary C realm shadow. The shadow grinned and said, "Lord Blood Slave, over a month ago, we captured a nascent great medicine and it has been taken away by the medicine collection team. I reckon that it won't take long before the medicine collection team delivers it to Lord Blood Emperor. That's right. The shadow leader nodded. As a blood slave, his status was one level higher than a blood slave. The blood slave's harvest was also his harvest, and he wouldn't be lacking in rewards. Over a month ago? Nascent great medicine? Blood Emperor? Li Fuchen suspected that the shadow leader was referring to Lei Donghai. Great medicines should be the organization's term, and it meant body refinement monarchs. Nascent great medicines were naturally body refinement monarchs at the initial stage. What made Li Fuchen frown was that this dark organization was indeed backed by a law-phase realm emperor. He didn't think that the Blood Emperor was a half-emperor, as half-emperors weren't able to make so many people so loyal to him. It seems like I have to consider this carefully. Li Fuchen might want to rescue Senior Yuan Long, but he knew clearly how difficult it was to rescue Senior Yuan Long from a law-phase realm emperor. Let alone the fact that he was only at the first level of Primary Sea Realm. Even if he was at the mid-levels of Primary Sea Realm, it was impossible. Unless he was at the high levels of Primary Sea Realm and the Blood Emperor was a weaker law-phase realm emperor, there would be a trace of hope. What about you? Finally, the shadow leader looked at Li Fuchen. Li Fuchen said, "It has been a few years since I opened the shop." The shadow leader sized up Li Fuchen with a puzzled expression. "Why are you only at the first level of Primary Sea Realm?" In response, the other two shadows stared at Li Fuchen, and the atmosphere instantly turned icy cold. The Blood Emperor's blood slaves were all at least at the fourth level of Primary Sea Realm without exception. Li Fuchen said calmly, "I suffered some injuries. I was originally at the sixth level of Primary Sea Realm." While speaking, Li Fuchen circulated the Divine Flame Red Rainbow technique and burst out with a powerful Qi presence. From the intensity of the Qi presence, it wasn't weaker than regular fourth-level monarchs. I see. The three of them did not suspect anything. Firstly, Li Fuchen's Qi presence wasn't something a first-level monarch should have. Secondly, they were very confident in the blood-colored token. The restriction in the depths of the blood-colored token had been personally placed by the Blood Emperor. Even a quasi-emperor would not be able to refine it. In other words, if Li Fuchen was able to refine the restriction in the depths of the token, he wouldn't need to fear them and wouldn't need to explain anything to them. Therefore, the three of them instantly dispelled their doubts. At dawn, the blood-red token in the leader's hand vibrated. He infused his Jinqi with it. "Lord Blood Slave, the target has come out from the east gate of the town." Keeping the token, the leader waved his hand and said, "Let's go." As he spoke, he was already like a giant bat, disappearing into the darkness of the night that had yet to completely disappear. Lying in ambush a few thousand miles away from the east of the town, the four of them were motionless like rocks. The darkness of the night gradually dispersed, and there was a patch of white light on the horizon. Li Fuchen's eyes landed on the trio. The leader was wearing a black mask, while the other two were wearing white masks. Of course, Li Fuchen was also wearing a white mask. This white mask was found in the Blood Bee Monarch's storage bag. Li Fuchen guessed that it was used by the blood slaves to meet each other. After all, no one wished to reveal their appearance. If there was a spy among them, wouldn't they be easily recognized? After 10 minutes, Li Fuchen's expression changed slightly. His spiritual awareness was fanned out and he sensed that someone was coming. After concentrating his spiritual awareness, Li Fuchen saw the person. It was a very handsome and elegant youth. If it wasn't for his sword-like brows and straight nose, Li Fuchen would suspect that he was a woman in disguise. This person was very young, and from the body's Qi presence, he seemed to be younger than Li Fuchen. The Qi blood wave from his body was indeed very intense. If Li Fuchen was 239 Qi blood wave, this person's Qi blood wave would at least be around 1000. He should be cultivating an Earth-class high-tier body refinement technique. Li Fuchen said to himself. If the black-masked man knew that Li Fuchen had released his spiritual awareness, he would probably have the intention to kill Li Fuchen. After all, once the spiritual awareness was released, the enemy would definitely know that he was being ambushed. Of course, this was the effect that Li Fuchen wanted. He didn't really plan to ambush the enemy. "Friend, you are being ambushed. The enemy has 3 individuals." 1/7 level primary sea realm, 1/6 level primary sea realm, and 1/5 level primary sea realm. Including the person following behind you, there are a total of 4 individuals. Li Fuchen used his spiritual awareness as a medium to transmit his voice into the enemy's ears. The handsome youth frowned slightly but didn't say anything. Li Fuchen continued to transmit his voice. Be careful of the enemy's blood sift net. This net can suppress qi blood. After speaking, Li Fuchen didn't say anything else. He believed that the enemy would make the right choice. 500 miles. 100 miles. 10 miles. 3 miles. Do it. The black-masked man instantly scuttled out while the blood-colored metal ball in his hand was like a blood-colored lightning that was blasted at the handsome youth. At almost the same moment, the 2 white-masked men had also shot out the blood-colored metal ball in their hands. A few miles behind the handsome youth, there was also a blood-colored metal ball that flew over. For a moment, there were blood-colored metal balls in all directions, except for Li Fuchen's blood-colored metal ball. The black-masked man looked at Li Fuchen with astonishment. When he saw Li Fuchen's action, his eyes couldn't help but burst out with bone-chilling intent. It wasn't that Li Fuchen didn't use the blood sift net, but he changed the target to one of the white-masked men. Due to the closer distance, the handsome youth didn't make any movements. On Li Fuchen's side, the blood-colored metal ball had already turned into a blood net and had enveloped the 5th-level primary sea realm white-masked man. The blood net tightened and wrapped the white-masked man into a blood ball, immobilizing him. I am waiting for you. Seeing that there were blood-colored metal balls in all directions, the handsome youth's sword-like brows raised. With a flash, he dodged with ease. Black snake palm. With a palm strike, a black qi power that was like a black snake had tunneled into the body of one of the white-masked men at a speed that was hard to be seen by the naked eye. Bang! A blood mist exploded and the white-masked man was instantly blasted into pieces. Not good, this is Earth-class peak-tier qi power. The black-masked man had an extremely unpleasant expression. Earth-class peak-tier qi power could only be cultivated with an Earth-class peak-tier body refinement technique. If one cultivated an Earth-class peak-tier body refinement technique to the subcompletion level of primary sea realm, such strength wouldn't be inferior to peak-class monarchs and half-emperors. Flee! The black-masked man didn't hesitate and immediately turned to flee. Behind the handsome youth, the white-masked man had also started to flee. Stay behind. Li Fuchen obstructed the black-masked man. Courting death. The black-masked man's murderous aura burst out. If it wasn't for Li Fuchen, the blood sift net might have trapped him. With 4 layers of the blood sift net stacked together, so what if the black-masked man had Earth-class peak-tier qi power? A black fork appeared in the black-masked man's hand as he thrust the fork at Li Fuchen. The fork transformed in the air and turned into a water serpent. The water serpent's scales were lifelike and emitted a qi presence that could destroy all living things. Heaven-class martial art. Li Fuchen was certain that the black-masked man's move was definitely a heaven-class martial art. The black-masked man might not be at the trance stage and was much inferior to Li Fuchen, but when the black-masked man executed it with his 7th-level primary sea realm cultivation, it was simply devastating and massacring. Li Fuchen was glad that he didn't expose himself earlier, otherwise, he wouldn't be a match for the black-masked man. Li Fuchen didn't receive this move forcefully and released a spiritual awareness attack before dodging with a flash. Spiritual awareness attack. The black-masked man glared at Li Fuchen and was preparing to continue fleeing. I said to let you stay behind. When the sword was brandished, the spatial zone was like a shattered mirror. The black-masked man was frozen for an instant and blood splattered from the black-masked man's body. Die! The black-masked man was enraged and brandished the black fork in his hand in a frenzy. A water serpent that was 10 times bigger than before lunged at Li Fuchen. I can't dodge. Li Fuchen's spiritual awareness might have sensed it in advance, but his body speed wasn't able to keep up. Behind Li Fuchen, the charming youth had dealt with the remaining white-masked man and rushed over in time. With a slap of his right hand, a large black snake scuttled out and tangled with the water serpent. Bang boom! The water serpent was like tofu as it was minced into nothingness by the black snake. The slightly dimmed black snake continued to lunge at the black-masked man. Break! The black-masked man stabbed the black snake with his fork. After vomiting a mouthful of fresh blood, the black-masked man was sent flying. The charming youth was too powerful. He didn't just cultivate an Earth-class peak-tier body refinement technique, he also cultivated an Earth-class peak-tier body refinement art. With the combination of the two, he was comparable with a half-emperor, and the black-masked man wasn't someone the black-masked man could contest with. Go! After sending the black-masked man flying with a palm strike, the charming youth shook his left hand and chased after the black-masked man with a silver rope. After doing everything, the charming youth turned around and asked Li Fuchen coldly, "Who are you? What is your relationship with this group of people?" Li Fuchen said, "My friend has been captured by them. I only managed to sneak in a few hours ago." The black-masked man was very powerful, and even if Li Fuchen didn't warn him, the blood sift net wouldn't be able to trap him. "Your friend has been captured? Then how did you sneak in?" "From what I know, the blood sift union is very strict and it isn't that easy to sneak in." The charming youth asked. Li Fuchen said, "Just because it is hard doesn't mean it is impossible. You said this organization is called the Blood Sift Union? Do you know any information about the Blood Sift Union?" Chapter 603. From the young man, Li Fuchen found out that the Blood Sift Union was a secret organization that only appeared in the recent decade. Once they appeared, they caused countless bloodbaths. During this period of time, there were plenty of Law Phase Realm Emperors who worked together to eliminate the Blood Sift Union. But they didn't succeed. Li Fuchen took off his white mask and introduced himself. "Shangguan Yu." The charming young man sized up Li Fuchen and realized that Li Fuchen was as young as him. The charming young man started to believe Li Fuchen. Immediately after, the duo started to interrogate the black-masked and white-masked men. The black-masked man was rather straightforward as he consumed poison to commit suicide. The poison was hidden in the gaps of his teeth. The white-masked man didn't have such a high resolution as the black-masked man. After all, who would want to die if they could live? Li Fuchen took off the white-masked man's white mask. Under the mask was a middle-aged man with an ordinary appearance. He had a pair of eyes that were filled with vicious qi. "Have you seen this person before?" Li Fuchen's qi burst out and drew out Yuan Long's appearance. "I have." The middle-aged man replied honestly. "Tell us everything you know," Shangguan Yu said. The middle-aged man shook his head. "Swear to spare my life." Shangguan Yu sneered, "You don't have the qualifications to bargain with us." "Then kill me," the middle-aged man said straightforwardly. Li Fuchen nodded. "We can spare your life, but the things you say must be valuable. If not, we will still kill you." Just like that, Li Fuchen and Shangguan Yu swore that as long as the things the middle-aged man said were valuable, they would spare his life. Seeing the situation, the middle-aged man let out a breath of relief and started to tell them everything he knew. The Blood Sift Union has 1 president and 4 vice presidents. The Blood Emperor is one of the vice presidents. The 5 presidents are all Law Phase Realm Emperors. Among them, the president is the most mysterious. It is rumored that he is a high-level emperor. The Blood Sift Union had previously encountered several crises and was resolved by him. Apart from the 5 presidents, the Blood Sift Union also has 18 team leaders and 72 deacons, all of whom are quasi-emperors. The 5 presidents each have their own plans. Lord Blood Emperor's plan is to search for and capture body refinement kings and absorb their vital energy and blood essence to increase his own cultivation. In the past few decades, he has already advanced 2 realms and his position is faintly showing signs of surpassing the other vice presidents. Before the middle-aged man could finish his sentence, Li Fuchen said, "You said that the Blood Emperor requires the qi blood essence of body refinement monarchs to cultivate. But after some adjustments, he should be able to transmit messages to the blood slaves and the medicine collection team." Li Fuchen felt that it wasn't possible to transmit messages to the Blood Emperor. "Did you refine it? Refine a piece of blood slave token? How did you refine it?" Shangguan Yu had 3 tokens. One was the black-masked man's blood slave token, the other 2 were the white-masked man's blood slave tokens. He was the one who killed all three of them. In fact, he still had another blood slave token, but he wasn't able to refine it. In her opinion, since Li Fuchen was able to sneak in, he must have a way to refine the token. Li Fuchen didn't deny it and said, "Perhaps my spiritual awareness is much stronger than others. Then can you help me refine this blood slave token? I can agree to a request that is within my capabilities." Shang Guanyu said. Li Fuchen said, "I can help you refine the blood slave token. As for the request, forget it. The enemy of an enemy might not be a friend, but they could work hard to become friends." Since Shang Guanyu's target was also the Blood Sift Union, Li Fuchen felt that they could work together. Furthermore, if Shang Guanyu wasn't around, a single blood slave would be enough for Li Fuchen. After receiving the token, Li Fuchen extended his spiritual awareness inside. The blood slave token was of a higher grade than the blood slave token, therefore, it was naturally harder to refine. Withdrawing his spiritual awareness, Li Fuchen said, "Let's find a place to stay first. I am afraid I will need 3 to 4 days to refine this blood slave token." Sure. Shang Guanyu nodded. It was within his expectations that the blood slave token was hard to refine. After all, he spent half a month and didn't even refine the blood slave token, let alone the blood slave token. After finding an inn in Beheading Waterfall Town, the duo stayed in. From Shang Guanyu, Li Fuchen found out that Shang Guanyu was seeking revenge for a friend and was investigating the Blood Sift Union. But Li Fuchen felt that things weren't so simple. 3 days later, Li Fuchen refined the Blood Slave token. But the instant the Blood Slave token was refined successfully, Li Fuchen cursed silently. Using his spiritual awareness, he could see an invisible blood light rushing into the sky and into the clouds. At the same moment, Li Fuchen's body had an additional trace of something that didn't belong to him, and it was extremely obscure. "I was careless." Li Fuchen had a grave expression. Chapter 604. After placing the Blood Servant token on the side, Li Fuchen released his spiritual awareness and started to scan his body. After the first scan, Li Fuchen didn't discover anything. Frowning, Li Fuchen released his spirit soul power and started to scan for the second time. During the second scan, Li Fuchen noticed something strange. His chi blood wasn't circulating at all, but at his chest, the chi blood was circulating in a very obscure way. If it wasn't for his spirit soul power, Li Fuchen wouldn't be able to sense this obscure way of circulation. Li Fuchen lifted up the clothes in front of his chest and took a closer look. It was unknown when a blood skull mark appeared on his chest. "This is a mark?" Li Fuchen had a very unpleasant expression. When a mark was left on the body, it was the same as a flame in the darkness. It was hard to not attract attention. Taking a deep breath, Li Fuchen circulated the dragon elephant power and wanted to disperse the circulating chi blood. After the chi blood was dispersed, the blood skull mark vanished. But in the next moment, the blood skull mark appeared on Li Fuchen's left arm. Continuing to disperse the chi blood, the blood skull mark appeared on Li Fuchen's back again. From start to finish, Li Fuchen didn't know what method was used to automatically circulate a portion of his chi blood. Furthermore, it was done in an obscure and free manner. Li Fuchen had a feeling that this mark wouldn't vanish unless his chi blood dried up. Could it be the legendary incantation mark? Li Fuchen's expression was getting increasingly unpleasant. If the blood skull mark wasn't vanishing, Li Fuchen's expression was already unpleasant. But the blood skull mark was constantly consuming chi blood, which made Li Fuchen's heart sink. The consumption of chi blood wasn't considered much now, but who knew what would happen in the future? Li Fuchen explained to Shang Guanyu. Shang Guanyu spoke in a deep and apologetic voice. "This is indeed an incantation mark. An incantation mark is a kind of law. Unless the incantation mark is extremely proficient or the incantation mark is of a high cultivation realm, it is impossible to remove the incantation mark. Of course, there is another possibility: the incantation mark can be removed by the person who placed the incantation mark. But to get the Blood Emperor to remove the incantation mark, it is much harder than the first two possibilities. How do I learn the incantation mark?" Li Fuchen had already calmed down. With his astonishing perception, As long as he was given the foundation of incantations, he believed that he would be able to walk his own path on the path of incantations. Shang Guanyu shook his head and said, "The cursed Dao is thousands of times rarer than the body-tempering Dao. Without an inheritance, it is impossible to learn it." What does the higher realm refer to? Cultivation or law realm? Li Fuchen continued to ask. Shang Guanyu said, "To be precise, it's the realm of rules. As the saying goes, all things are interlinked. The curse seal itself is also a kind of rule, so it's possible to use other rules to dispel it. However, the prerequisite is that the realm of rules has reached an extremely high level, even higher than the curse seal of the person who cast the curse seal. In other words, if my sword intent is strong enough, I can sever the curse power on my body." "That's right." Shang Guanyu nodded. "I see. I understand now." Li Fuchen let out a breath of relief. If his law realm had reached an extremely high level of attainment, he would still have some confidence. If low-tier heaven-class sword intent didn't work, then he would use mid-tier heaven-class sword intent. If mid-tier heaven-class sword intent didn't work, then he would use high-tier heaven-class sword intent. It was at least easier than reaching the law phase realm. Furthermore, the Blood Emperor was also a law phase realm emperor. Even if his cultivation reached the law phase realm, he might not be able to dispel the curse seal. He would only be able to suppress the curse seal. "Apologies, I didn't think that the Blood Emperor is also proficient in the curse seal Dao." Shang Guanyu said apologetically. Li Fuchen said, "I was too careless. Since things have come to this, there is no need to be conflicted. The problem now is that I have already become a torch in the darkness. Countless Blood Sift Union experts will come to pursue me. Let's split up here." It was already impossible to rescue Yuan Long, at least not for the time being. Li Fuchen only hoped that Yuan Long could hold on for a period of time. Once Li Fuchen had a trace of confidence, he would come and rescue Yuan Long. Shang Guanyu said unhappily, "What kind of person do you think I am? Because of me, you are inflicted with the curse seal. Therefore, I have the responsibility to protect your safety." Li Fuchen said, "Your strength should be at the half-emperor level. But what if the person that comes is stronger than you? What if it is a peak-class half-emperor or a combat emperor?" Below the law phase realm, apart from a half-emperor, there was an even stronger combat emperor. The combat emperor might not be at the law phase realm, but their combat strength was comparable with law phase realm emperors. Therefore, they were called combat emperors. Shang Guanyu said, "It is one matter if I can protect you, it is another matter if I have the responsibility to protect you. Furthermore, I might have a way to remove the curse seal in advance." "You have a way?" Li Fuchen took a glance at Shang Guanyu. "If you don't have anything else, follow me to the Sky Light residence. There is a senior there that is proficient in curse seals." Shang Guanyu said, "All right." Li Fuchen thought for a moment and nodded. He had to remove the curse seal no matter what. If he could remove it earlier, it would naturally be for the best. The duo immediately packed up and headed for the Sky Light residence. Along the way, Li Fuchen found out that Shang Guanyu's cultivation technique was called the Black Jade Bone Shine technique. It was an Earth-class peak-tier body refinement technique. When cultivated to the extremity, it would allow the user to reach the initial level of Law Phase realm. In the past, Li Fuchen had always been proud of cultivating the Earth-class high-tier body refinement technique, Dragon Elephant Body Forging Chapter. As compared to Shang Guanyu's Black Jade Bone Shine technique, it was definitely inferior. Shang Guanyu's cultivation technique could be cultivated to the initial level of Law Phase realm, while Li Fuchen's Dragon Elephant Body Forging Chapter could only be cultivated to the completion level of Primary Sea realm. As for Shang Guanyu's body refinement technique, Black Snake Palm, it was also at the Earth-class peak tier and had its own system. As compared to Shang Guanyu's Earth-class peak tier body refinement technique, it was much stronger. However, Shang Guanyu's Black Snake Palm had yet to reach the trance stage and was inferior to Li Fuchen. The body refinement Dao has an extremely high requirement for resources. Furthermore, body refinement aptitude is very important. I can see that you have some body refinement cultivation. It is best not to delve too deeply into it. Shang Guanyu reminded Li Fuchen as he didn't notice that half of Li Fuchen's body refinement was already sealed by the Qi power seal. Li Fuchen didn't wish to conceal it from Shang Guanyu and said, "Actually, my body refinement is already at the primary C realm. But I am worried that the blood sift union will discover it, therefore I use the Qi power seal to seal my Qi blood and Qi power." Your body refinement and Qi cultivation are both at the primary C realm? Shang Guanyu was shocked. He already knew that Li Fuchen was only slightly over 30 years old. What kind of aptitude was required to increase his body refinement and Qi cultivation to the primary C realm when he was just over 30 years old? At least, Shang Guanyu had never heard of anyone that could achieve this at the age of 30. What is your bone frame? Shang Guanyu asked. Her bone frame was the black jade bone frame that was comparable with the Arhat bone frame. Li Fuchen said, "Blazing flame bone frame." Blazing flame bone frame? Shang Guanyu frowned as he couldn't understand Li Fuchen. Perhaps, Li Fuchen had a secret physique. Chapter 605. In the boundless brown wilderness, two figures were traveling rapidly like streams of light. Li Fuchen realized that every 2 hours or so, the blood skull incantation on his body would suddenly light up. Once it lit up, the Qi blood consumption would increase by 100 times. At the same time, an obscure wave would be transmitted. With the previous experience, every time the blood skull incantation lit up, Li Fuchen would activate his spirit soul ability to conceal the incantation wave. He might not be able to completely conceal it, but it was better than nothing. This wilderness was at least a few tens of thousands of miles, and it was the largest wilderness in the Dragon River Seat. Along the way, the duo saw plenty of people fighting. Just as they were about to exit the wilderness, Li Fuchen said, "We are surrounded. Break out from this direction." Li Fuchen suddenly changed directions and said to Shang Guanyu. Shang Guanyu didn't doubt Li Fuchen. During the past few days, he had already witnessed the power of Li Fuchen's spiritual awareness. It wasn't exaggerating to say that even half-emperors weren't as powerful as Li Fuchen's spiritual awareness. After traveling for a few hundred miles, Li Fuchen changed directions again. If one looked down from the sky, they would see that the duo was surrounded by black shadows. Every time Li Fuchen chose a direction, it would be a gap between the black shadows. But as the encirclement got smaller, the gaps got smaller too. There are only 3 individuals in this direction, and one of them is at the 8th level of primary C realm. Li Fuchen said, "Leave it to me." Shang Guanyu revealed a confident expression. Soon enough, both sides encountered each other. On the opposite side was a black-masked individual and 2 white-masked individuals. Without any nonsense, once both sides encountered each other, they immediately started a fight. Black Snake Palm. Shang Guanyu's Black Snake Palm was very tyrannical. With 2 palm strikes, 2 black snake Qi powers burrowed into the white-masked individuals' bodies with extreme speed. Bang bang! There were 2 bursts of blood mist. Earth-class peak-tier Qi power? The black-masked individuals were appalled as they retreated frantically. Heaven and Earth extermination. Li Fuchen's sword locked onto the opponent's void. A sword art that contained the Void Dao laws was too incredible. Even if it couldn't injure the opponent, it could immobilize them for a split second. This split second gave Shang Guanyu an opportunity. Black Snake Drill. Shang Guanyu lifted his right hand and spun it. A black snake Qi power that was 10 times larger burst out. The spatial zone seemed to be unstable as it was distorted by the black snake Qi power. No! The speed of the black snake's Qi force was too fast. It was as if it had teleported. The black-masked man had no time to dodge. He could only raise his saber and slash at the black snake's Qi force. At most, he could only use 30 to 40% of his strength. Bang! The long saber twisted and collapsed. The black-masked man spat out a mouthful of blood as countless bloody holes appeared on his body. After Shang Guanyu's black snake drill exploded, it turned into countless small black snakes that attacked the black-masked man. If it was in the past, Shang Guanyu would definitely use the king binding rope to bind the other party. Now, she only wanted to break out of the encirclement and use the black snake palm to tear the other party apart. Go! Shang Guanyu's body was covered in a black halo and his speed was even faster than Li Fuchen. Not long after the two left, a group of masked men appeared. This person is extremely strong. He is at least a medial-grade quasi-emperor. Even a medial-grade quasi-emperor can forget about escaping. In the next few days, the two of them did not encounter any enemies. It seemed that the next encirclement would take some time. Shang Guanyu said, "As long as we reach the Dragon River Seek County City, we will be able to use the teleportation array to teleport to the Sky Light Seek County City." The construction of the teleportation array required spatial crystals, and the amount of spatial crystals would determine the number of teleportation arrays. Otherwise, with the wealth of the Red Moon Emperor and the Soul Emperor, it wouldn't be difficult for them to construct a teleportation array in every city. After all, the other materials used to construct the teleportation array might be precious, but they were only precious for monarchs. The two of them were traveling at extreme speed, but they would occasionally stop to rest. Traveling at full speed would consume a lot of chi and chi power. They had to maintain their condition to deal with sudden situations. When they were halfway to the Dragon River Seek County City, the two of them were intercepted again. This time, there were a total of 5 individuals intercepting them. There were 3 high-level Primary Sea Realm experts and 2 mid-level Primary Sea Realm experts. Furthermore, these 2 mid-level Primary Sea Realm experts were at the 6th level of Primary Sea Realm and not the 5th or 4th level. A great battle instantly erupted. Shang Guanyu relied on his valiant strength to fight 1 against 3. His opponents were the 3 high-level Primary Sea Realm experts. As for Li Fuchen, he had to face 2 6th-level Primary Sea Realm monarchs alone. These 2 individuals had incredible strength and weren't regular 6th-level Primary Sea Realm monarchs. From their attacks, Li Fuchen was certain that they had also cultivated a heaven-class martial art. However, their proficiency wasn't high enough and they weren't able to utilize the quintessence of the heaven-class martial art. After executing 2 consecutive spiritual awareness attacks, Li Fuchen took advantage of the moment when the 2 monarchs froze to envelop them with his sword move, Heaven and Earth Extermination. PFFF. Apart from the areas that were protected by the artifact armor, the rest of the bodies had been slashed apart, including their heads. What? One of the high-level Primary Sea Realm monarchs who was in battle with Shang Guanyu widened his eyes and couldn't believe his eyes. The Blood Sift Union's mid-level monarchs might be inferior to high-level monarchs. Mid-level monarchs would normally cultivate heaven-class martial arts for a short period of time and wouldn't have high proficiency. High-level monarchs would have cultivated heaven-class martial arts for a long period of time and would be able to utilize the quintessence of heaven-class martial arts. Their strength would basically be comparable to low-class half-emperors. However, heaven-class martial arts were still heaven-class martial arts. As long as one had a certain level of proficiency, they would be able to burst out with powerful strength. It wasn't exaggerating to say that the Blood Sift Union's mid-level monarchs were comparable with high-level monarchs in the outside world. Li Fuchen was just a low-level monarch, and he was actually able to kill 2 of them in a short period of time. If he didn't witness it with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe it. Shang Guanyu's strength was formidable, and according to his strength, he should be around the level of a mid-class half-emperor. With his incredible defense, even a mid-class half-emperor wouldn't be able to injure him. But this time, the 3 high-level monarchs weren't ordinary people. The strongest one was probably already at the level of a high-class half-emperor. As for the other 2, one was a low-class half-emperor and the other was a mid-class half-emperor. This was Shang Guanyu. If it was any other monarch with strength similar to Shang Guanyu and didn't cultivate the body refinement Dao, they would already be dead. Brother Shangguan, you should kill the weakest one first. Li Fuchen transmitted a message to Shang Guanyu. All right. Shang Guanyu knew that Li Fuchen's spiritual awareness attack was incredible, but he had never witnessed it. Not good. The black-masked man with the strength of a low-class half-emperor suddenly felt his head shaking and his body froze for a short moment. It was extremely short, and if Shang Guanyu was a low-class half-emperor, he wouldn't be able to threaten the black-masked man. But Shang Guanyu was a mid-class half-emperor and a body refinement monarch. Once the black snake palm was executed, The black snake chi power had destroyed the black masked man's body. Damn it. Chapter 606. Li Fuchen wasn't a match for a mid-class half-emperor. Even his spiritual awareness attack and illusion art attack wouldn't be effective. Shangguan Yu naturally knew about this, so he immediately unleashed his aura. Shangguan Yu's spirit was very strange. It didn't seem like the spirit that came with cultivation techniques or martial arts, but rather the spirit that came with it. This kind of chi spirit didn't have a shape, but it was extremely solid. Li Fuchen believed that even if his giant dragon spirit was several times stronger, it wouldn't be as powerful as Shangguan Yu's chi spirit. The aura enveloped that mid-level quasi-emperor, making it difficult for him to move. Bloodline spirit, who exactly are you? The high-ranked quasi-emperor, the black-masked man, could not help feeling shocked. The body refinement bone frame could allow a person to possess innate strength. On the other hand, the body refining bloodline could give one an innate aura. Those who possessed both could be said to be rare geniuses in the world of body refinement. However, in the next moment, the black-masked man with the power of a high-level emperor to be revealed a fiery expression. If he offered this person to the Blood Emperor, the Blood Emperor would definitely help him break through to the Transcendence realm. Others might not know, but he was very clear that the Blood Emperor absorbing the blood essence for cultivation was only the surface. Absorbing the spirituality within the blood essence was the true purpose. Of course, both methods required blood essence. For a person who possessed both the body refinement bone frame and the body refinement bloodline, it was hard to imagine how powerful the spirituality of the blood essence would be. From the blood the arch, Jiang Yi vaguely knew that only a saint's ancestor would be able to pass down the bloodline. In other words, it was very likely that Shangguan Yu's ancestor was a great sage. The high-rank quasi-emperor black-masked man shouted and brandished his sword. Layers of sword light swept toward Shangguan Yu like a storm. Shangguan Yu used his left hand to block the storm of sword light, while his right hand formed a saber and slashed at the black-masked man with the strength of a mid-level quasi-emperor. Pucci. That black-masked man with the strength of a mid-level quasi-emperor did not even have time to scream before he was directly split in half. Even his armor was torn apart. Shangguan Yu grunted and was sent flying by the high-rank quasi-emperor black-masked man. Blood leaked out of the corner of his mouth. Hit! A blood-red iron ball appeared in the black-masked man's hand. He threw it, and a huge blood net enveloped Shangguan Yu. At the same time, a force field similar to aura spread out. A quasi-heaven grade secret treasure. The blood sift net thrown by the black-masked man was a quasi-heaven grade artifact, a level higher than the blood sift nets of the other masked men. If it was just an ordinary blood sift net, Shangguan Yu could have easily dodged it. However, not only was this blood sift net bigger, it also contained a force field. It was already too late for Shangguan Yu to dodge. Exterminate the heavens and exterminate the earth. At the crucial moment, Li Fuchen slashed at the blood sift net and bought some time for Shangguan Yu. This tiny bit of time was enough for Shangguan Yu to avoid the blood sift net. Hateful brat. The black-masked man was furious and slashed at Li Fuchen. This slash might be a casual slash, but when executed with his 9th level primary C realm cultivation, the sword chi contained a sense of annihilation. Even the air was tainted by the sword chi and was filled with murderous intent. Sky Ring Sword Armor. Li Fuchen brandished the joint heaven sword and a layer of sword screen blocked in front of the sword chi. Crackle. The sword screen was torn apart and Li Fuchen was sent flying while vomiting blood. Fortunately, his life wasn't in danger. He truly lives up to being a high-ranked quasi-emperor. Li Fuchen took the opportunity to widen the distance and continuously blasted his spiritual awareness attacks on the black-masked man's mind. The black-masked man's expression changed. He had already erected his spiritual awareness defense, but Li Fuchen's spiritual awareness attacks were still tearing his spiritual awareness defense and shaking his true spirit, making it hard for him to concentrate fully in the battle. Black Snake Drill. Shangguan Yu executed a palm strike, and the black snake chi power was like a violent dragon that swept at the black-masked man. The black-masked man didn't dare to be careless and had no choice but to temporarily give up on killing Li Fuchen and continued to fight with Shangguan. After all, Shangguan was a body refinement monarch, but the black-masked man wasn't. If he was careless and got hit, it wouldn't be as simple as a light injury. Li Fuchen's spiritual awareness extended over 10,000 miles, and when he saw that the surroundings were filled with masked men, he quickly transmitted a message to Shangguan. End the battle quickly, I will create an opportunity for you. While speaking, the spiritual awareness attacks were even more frenzied, and there were also illusion art attacks. The black-masked man was in agony. Shangguan spiritual awareness attacks and illusion art attacks might not be able to pose a true threat to him, but they were able to divert a lot of his attention, making it hard for him to concentrate and fight with Shangguan. It felt like his hands and feet were tied. I just need to persevere a little longer. The black-masked man could only comfort himself. Meteor fall. Right at this moment, a dazzling stream of light was shot at the black-masked man. Meteor fall contained extreme speed and power, while extreme speed and power could affect the void. Therefore, meteor fall might not contain the void Dao laws, but it had the same effect as the void Dao laws and could cause the void to stagnate. Or to put it in a deeper way, meteor fall had the effect of affecting the flow of time. Time was paramount and there were many paths that led to time. Speed and power were definitely one of the paths. Li Fuchen's meteor fall was already at the trance stage. In terms of individual power, it was superior to the heaven and earth extermination. In terms of the sure kill attribute, it wasn't inferior to the heaven and earth extermination, and it was hard for enemies to dodge. The black-masked man's chi protection was broken and a bloody hole appeared on his body. The bloody hole wasn't fatal, but it caused the black-masked man's chi intent to leak and he wasn't able to gather his chi. 5 forms Emperor Fist. Shampasaurus kill. Shangguan chi power was flowing out in a frenzy and gathered on his right fist. Visible to the naked eye, a Shampasaurus shadow appeared around Shangguan body. The Shampasaurus shadow had an ancient chi presence and it felt as though it walked out from the desolate ancient times. It was emitting an intense murderous aura and a destructive aura. Heaven-class body refinement fist art. At the crucial moment, Shangguan executed the heaven-class body refinement fist art. The chi power required to execute the heaven-class body refinement fist art was too abundant. Even Shangguan could only execute it twice within a short period of time. After executing it for the second time, he would only be left with 10% of his chi power. This was also the reason why he only executed it now. After all, if he couldn't severely injure the enemy, he would be in a crisis of lacking chi power. It is about time. Li Fuchen didn't expect Shangguan to cultivate a heaven-class body refinement fist art. Li Fuchen didn't know how powerful a heaven-class body refinement fist art was. But he knew that among heaven-class martial arts of the same tier, body refinement martial arts were much stronger than chi cultivation martial arts. Since Shangguan cultivated a heaven-class body refinement fist art, the black-masked man was basically doomed. Boom! The void shook as the Shampasaurus shadow smashed on the black-masked man. Immediately after, the black-masked man's body burst out with blood. He looked like a wooden bucket that was filled with blood that was collapsing. Heaven and earth extermination. Striking while the iron was hot, Li Fuchen executed the heaven and earth extermination. The heaven and earth extermination contained the void Dao laws and didn't have much conflict with the Shampasaurus kill. The sword chi followed the gap and sliced the black-masked man's body. I am unwilling. As the black-masked man let out a miserable scream, his body was split into pieces. Let's go! After keeping the black-masked man's storage bag, the duo left in a hurry. Even the vice group leader has been killed. Could he be a peak-class half-emperor? The few black-masked men that rushed over spoke with deep voices. The Blood Sift Union had a total of 18 groups and each group leader was a peak-class half-emperor. The vice group leader was a high-class half-emperor. In their opinion, even a peak-class half-emperor might not be able to kill a high-class half-emperor within a short period of time. After much effort, the duo finally arrived at the Dragon River Seat's Dragon River City. After spending a few 100,000 low-grade spirit stones, the duo teleported to the Sky Light City. After exiting the Sky Light City, they headed east. After traveling for over 20,000 miles, Li Fuchen saw a tall mountain. This mountain wasn't majestic, but it was very precipitous. It was like an unsheathed sharp sword that was pointing straight at the sky. This mountain is called the Incantation Mountain, and it is one of the few mystical mountains in the Emperor Sky continent. It naturally contains the profound laws, and the one that resides on the Incantation Mountain is a senior of mine. He is called the Incantation Martial Emperor, and he is extremely proficient in the Incantation Dao. If even he cannot remove the incantation on your body, then no one in the Emperor Sky continent can help you remove the incantation. Sheng Guanyu said. Li Fuchen raised his brows. He knew about mystical mountains, and they were existences that were superior to famed mountains. In the entire Emperor Sky continent, there were only a few dozen of them, and they were all controlled by Emperor-class factions or Law Phase Realm Emperors. Li Fuchen didn't expect for Sheng Guanyu's senior to be a Law Phase Realm Emperor. In fact, Li Fuchen already suspected that Sheng Guanyu had a powerful background. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to cultivate an Earth-class peak-tier body refinement technique and even a Heaven-class body refinement art. Incantation Martial Emperor? Could he use incantations to kill enemies? Li Fuchen was curious about the Incantation Martial Emperor. Sheng Guanyu continued. The Incantation Martial Emperor might only be a low-level emperor, but on the Incantation Mountain, even a great emperor wouldn't be able to kill him. This mountain has already become his cardinal artifact and can greatly enhance the power of his incantations. Soon enough, the duo arrived at the foot of the Incantation Mountain. Open sesame, Sheng Guanyu said. In the next moment, a door appeared in the air above the Incantation Mountain. Through the door, Li Fuchen could see the scenery on the Incantation Mountain. Come, let's enter. Sheng Guanyu led Li Fuchen into the door. Once the duo entered, the door closed. Before Li Fuchen could ask, Sheng Guanyu said, the incantation array set up by the Incantation Martial Emperor is able to recognize my spirit's soul presence. Therefore, only when I say open sesame can we enter. It is useless for others to say it. Li Fuchen nodded. A regular array was already incredible, but it was obvious that the incantation array was even more incredible and unfathomable. On the way up the mountain, Li Fuchen saw plenty of abnormal life forms. There were grass people, stone people, and wind origin energy life forms. Even the fallen leaves could grow 2 legs and bounce around. Welcome to Legends of Cultivation, audiobooks, where we bring ancient fantasy to life through storytelling. Follow the rise of heroes who defy fate, unlock mystical powers, and battle across celestial realms. Our audiobooks are crafted for fans of Chinese cultivation novels, filled with battles, breakthroughs, and legendary artifacts. Subscribe and be part of an unforgettable journey into the realm of immortality.